How do you evaluate Kevin Patullo here, Chris? I mean, this offense has been pretty bad all year long. How much role do you think he has in it? Do you think it's more Nick Sirianni's philosophy? Do you think it's the play of the quarterback? Or do you think it's Kevin Patullo and he's done a poor job as the play caller and offensive coordinator?
Personally, I think he deserves most of the blame. Just
Patullo
all
does?
respect. I think he deserves most. I think he deserves. To me, it's almost like if I had to put a percentage, I think he deserves 60% of it.
Wow, that's a big
Personally.
All right, let's go to Chris Franklin, who's joining us right here on Birds 365. He joins us now. You can follow him at C Franklin News. Chris, always a lot to talk about in Eagle Land. How you doing on this Tuesday morning, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. You're right. It is crazy. You guys are getting questions like that early. Who would have thought?
amazing.
Like last year's Super
It's
Bowl,
amazing.
and yeah,
Yeah.
here we are.
Boy, remember when winning a Super Bowl would give you what's it worth? 5 months now?
Just about, depreciate just a little bit now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I tell the story all the time. I remember sitting in a bar in Minneapolis, Bloomington actually, and saying, well, Doug's got a lifetime dispensation card. Boy, was that the dumbest thing I've ever said. Boy, these people want more and more and more, Chris Franklin.
Yeah, and to think about the history that this franchise is going through, and look at some of the coaches that they've had, it is rough. And I never thought to see the day that Doug would leave, especially even at the 4-12, and who would thought that the OC pick would be the thing that do him in. Now all of a sudden you're looking now, I don't foresee it happening. I think it might be 2019-ish, maybe 2018-ish, something like that. But yeah, man, it's rough to see they have to go through this conversation so soon too.
Well, I was thinking about Doug 2020 when it went off the rails. So the COVID season. Remember, Chris, that way deeper in the season, Doug admitted at one point that, well, he thought he needed a spark, and he gave some of the play calling. I forget what it was. It was like 2 minute, and it was like red zone to Rich Scangarella. The great Rich Scangarella was here for 1 year and never talked to the guy in person, only on Zoom, and Press Taylor. And nobody knew, Chris. And I bring this up because Nick could go, pick your favorite, Scott Leffler, because you love that Bowling Green tape, or Parks Frazier, or Jason Michael, the guys who have some play calling experience. They could make that change this week, and we'd never know. And unless it's overt and you can see the guy with the card on the sidelines and not paying attention, something like that. But doesn't that resonate with anybody? Doesn't it resonate to anybody who's like, whoa, this guy, I know play calling.
Yeah, it's tough to find out when you find stuff like that, like to see the mechanics and everything else. I would, and I speculate, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that. Or I love the recommendation Nick Foles made. And I think that's the best way to go. Put them in the box, because it is really tough to see. Sometimes it is tougher to see when you're ground level to see how things are developing. Maybe move them up, and if you do that, maybe you can mask some of that stuff. If you want to mask it, saying, okay, he's calling third down, somebody else start calling third downs, and he's calling other stuff. Maybe that's the way. So that way you don't know which person to do, because on Monday night ESPN's going to have cameras trained on him, and then if there's a play and we just see him standing around, and you're like, wait a minute, did he call that? Did somebody else call that? So yeah. It's
speaking of being in the box. Being in the box for the Chicago game, all I saw in real time was the Eagles' defensive front getting washed inside time and time again by Darnell Wright and the Chicago Bears offensive line. I've never seen anything like it. Normally, I watch a game and Zander will ask me questions on the post-game show, and I'll say a lot of, like a coach, well, I got to watch the film. I didn't have to watch the film. It was like a sea. And it was always the right side of the Bears offensive line and the left side of the Eagles defensive front getting completely washed down, and there would be DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monangai just cutting back into these massive I-95 sized holes. And poor Sidney Brown's got to come up and miss a tackle. Boy, it was a terrible performance. In the micro, why is anybody? I get it. Macro, the offense is the issue. Defense has been solid, but in that game, Chris, the defense was atrocious.
Yeah, and to me personally, I think that was one of the worst games defensive line discipline wise I've seen them play in a very, very long time. Going back probably 2 seasons. Because I look at it the fact that you didn't have your backside guard, especially. Everybody was just looking for a sack, it feel like. Everybody was trying to go upfield, trying to pressure Williams, and forgetting their backside responsibilities. Next thing you know, you see Monangai and Swift cut back, and they're going up 2-3. And you got to credit Ben Johnson because there's 2 things I like that he did that I wish this Eagles offense did. You motioned over to one side, and it set up a good matchups that way too. And then you just had everybody confusing because you saw every time you move somebody over, you saw the communication the Eagles defense were trying to do, thinking they had the right answer for that. Next thing you know, it wasn't there. So that was probably one of the most undisciplined things, the most undisciplined moments I've seen that defensive line ever have. And I think it also is a little bit too. I wonder if it's a little bit of hero ball in the sense that this defense has been on the field for so long. They need to try to make a play. We need to make a turnover. We need a big play to stop because the offense hasn't been able to sustain so much drive. And so you look at the beating that they've taken. You've seen, and it's going to start. The thing you worry about now is starting with Monday on. They've been on the field for so long in these last few weeks, and we know we're getting to that part where it's starting. Your body starts to grind. What have you? You can't have 36-minute 40 allow the opposing offense to have 36, 40-minute in time of possession, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, we need our defense to make a stop. They're probably looking like they won't never do it outwardly. They're probably looking down like, God, we're tired. Like, get us going. Like, get going so we can have some rest.
Well, I know one guy who's fresh, Chris. Jihad Campbell. Maybe throw him out there.
It's that, and that's another thing I'm worried about. Like I thought there would be. What has he done? I know Nakobe Dean's return, so that's a factor. But usually when there's a guy who's shown that he's been able to play or make some plays, that usually stays in field. What has he done either in practice or in the games that has made Vic feel like, you know what, maybe I can't consistently put him out there? And that was, and when I was looking, and I looked like every time, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's something that he's not. Maybe he's doing the same thing that you thought that we saw last week, where maybe he's not containing well. Maybe he's not beating blocks as well. But it's one of those things I still try to pinpoint, but I don't get it. Like, he's a guy where you can use him as a Swiss Army knife, and you can get more pressure with his eyes and maybe get off the field a little bit more, especially on third downs. Yeah. With him and Ball on there on third downs, what's going on?
It feels to me, Chris, and you tell me if you disagree with this, that the dam is breaking on the defense. I mean, they played 68 snaps on Sunday versus the Dallas Cowboys. They come out on a short week and they play 81 snaps. A lot of that is because they couldn't stop the run. But, it feels like all year this defense has been holding this team together. And A.J. Brown's alluded to it in postgame press conferences when people get mad at him. But I think he's speaking a lot of truth. Do you think that's a fair way to view the defense where – I think the dam is breaking, Chris. I don't think they can hold this team together that much longer.
I'll take a page out of Jim Schwartz talking about baseball and the fact that when you look at it, it's almost like a bullpen. It really is. And early in the season, we see what so much for the Phillies sometimes when you throw the bullpen out because the starters, they only want to go 5-6. By the time middle of the year, towards the end of the year, they look gassed. It's the same thing with the defense as well. You look at it and you're like, even though they're young, and you can say, okay, well, they still have more tread tires than say the Commanders that have that weak type defense that, oh my gosh, we got old fast. You look at this, you think like, oh, they're younger. But you keep putting them in these positions where you have to bail out. You have to have them bail out. There's only so much you can ask for one unit to play well as much as you can. But they're on a field for so long, you've lost that effectiveness.
I agree.
And this is where a run game really comes in for an offense. The Eagles need to figure out that run game to keep them fresh, to keep them on the field and get them on there.
Let me go back to something you said, Chris. You said something about you agree with Nick Foles' recommendation to put Kevin Patullo up in the box. I kind of like that recommendation as well. I brought that up with John, and I understand what John was saying. I don't think that's a top concern here on the Eagles' offense. How do you evaluate Kevin Patullo here, Chris? I mean, this offense has been pretty bad all year long. How much role do you think he has in it? Do you think it's more Nick Sirianni's philosophy? Do you think it's the play of the quarterback? Or do you think it's Kevin Patullo and he's done a poor job as the play caller and offensive coordinator?
Personally, I think he deserves most of the blame. Just
Patullo
all
does?
respect. I think he deserves most. I think he deserves. To me, it's almost like if I had to put a percentage, I think he deserves 60% of it.
Wow, that's a big percentage.
Personally, because I look at it in the fact where, and then here's the thing. I think another probably about this is why I got myself, and that's why I was a journalism major, not a math major. Probably put another 25% on Nick because he's the overseer of the whole entire game play. He has to give the game.
Can I ask you where you were at 2:50 early Saturday morning?
I was here. I have an alibi. My car was in the middle. I had nothing to do with that.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
And for the record, whoever did that,
Yeah,
I don't personally feel. They're dumbass. I'm sorry.
Scumbags.
But
it's a complete joke. But
no,
look, I blame the quarterback most. I blame the quarterback 60%. Guys are on the field, man. Like, here's the thing I don't get, Chris. And I do want to remind me to go back to the Bears locker room because I know you were in there. I wanted to ask you about all the.
I didn't know you were in there. Okay.
But before I get to that, I'm like, and forget about because Patullo's like the hot button issue, and the fans don't like him and all that kind of stuff. Think a guy like Jeff Stoutland. Really, Jeff Stoutland can't put together a run game, But there's a lot of demonstrated performance there over the years with Jeff Stoutland, one of the best assistants, regardless of positions. Just won the PFWA Legacy Award for assistant coaches. Put together one of the most historic rushing offenses in NFL history less than 12 months ago. And he can't develop a running. At some point, we got to blame the players. The Eagles, again, have had all this tremendous success. What's changed? Okay, yeah, Kellen Moore is in New Orleans. We're giving Kellen Moore this much credit? I mean, the quarterback is not playing well.
And I counter this. He's not absent. I say Jalen Hurts is not absent of any blame whatsoever. But also the fact that sometimes you can read the body language, sometimes you can read things. If you hear a play call coming in, and it's third, even second down or third down, whatever, and it's coming up and if I'm a wide receiver, running those stop routes or the corner routes, here we go again. If I look at another reason why I say if you could tell Patullo or if you tell Sirianni, Jalen, just rip it. I don't care if it is. Don't worry about the interceptions. Just throw it across the middle, and you don't hammer that home. That one too, unless it's insubordination. If it's insubordination, then there's a whole nother problem where I think you deal with where you say I'm not doing this, I'm doing that. That's a whole nother problem, that one too. But if I don't foresee that, I haven't heard that. So if it's not them hammering home, hey, throw it to the airport. We don't care. Just chuck it down the middle. Then I started looking at the coach like, how is your message not getting across? How are you not able to do this? And then I look at the play calling side. It's no rhyme or reason. For me, it appears like there's no rhyme or reason how certain things. Yeah, last game was probably Jalen's worst game I've seen him play this season. That's a fact. But I look at the overall picture.
And by the way, I think weather is a big part of that. Caleb Williams didn't play well. I think the weather was a big part of that. So that's contextual. But overall, I don't think he's having a great season throwing the football. I think that's fair to say.
And I just look at how some of the plays are being set up. You run one thing and it doesn't set up for another. You look at sometimes there's no consistent play concept where you say, "Oh, I saw this being run to set up this being done later on against a certain thing, against a certain defense." Wrong. every time you see like one of those films, sometimes they'll flash, somebody will flash like, oh, okay, I'm open. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes Jalen needs to hit some of the guys. A lot of times you're looking like, okay, they're running this concept. Why are you running this against a man? Why are you running this against stuff that you see runs more zone than anything? Why did you come out and say, okay, I think they're going to run this man? It's some rhyme and reason why I'm looking like I just that's why I put a lot of that on Patullo, on Sirianni when it comes to that setup there and overall the messaging. Maybe the messaging is not effective enough that it's getting to the quarterback and the other players. This is what you're supposed to do. So that's
That's
why
a real thing. I think messaging is big, and sometimes everybody's got a shelf life in this league, and sometimes people just stop listening. So maybe that Nick Sirianni messaging isn't resonating as well as it once did. But I do want to talk about the Bears just simply because so many ex-Eagles guys, most notably CJ, because people are interested, and he gave the wink about the offense, and Kevin Byard, big game with the interception, and DeAndre Swift, huge game. I know he wasn't happy about the way he was used here. Interesting story about DeAndre Swift. The Eagles wanted to get DeAndre Swift back, and Saquon was headed to Chicago. And then DeAndre said, "No, I'm going to." Isn't that interesting? It's like,
It's very interesting.
but anyway, and then TJ's not even there because he was hurt. TJ Edwards, a lot of ex-Eagles. How much did they enjoy beating their old team?
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I saw TJ. He was in the locker room. He was
Was he?
smiling. He was smiling just for everybody else as well too on that one too. But it was a lot of during a lot of the press scrums to say they were saying the right things and yeah, this is a good team because who knows, maybe they see them again down the road, maybe if things happen. But you could get a sense in talking to some of those guys like a little bit off to the side. You can get a sense this meant a little bit extra to them, a lot more. And I was saying, and the funny thing was, I was right there when CJ was talking to Shady and that one and DJ because they had the phone. It was towards the end of there, and there was some more stuff that a little bit after that. It was, yeah, this meant personally to him. But it was also interesting though. There's not too many hard feelings. It looks like it all. It could have been for show, whatever. But before the game, you saw Howie go over to CJ, give him a handshake, and it was brief, but you saw that as well too. So,
Did he say, "Hey, buddy"? Hey, buddy,
hey,
gotta cut you. I'm gonna
how you doing,
cut you.
guy? Nah,
Yeah.
it's not that. No, not that. But then also, I, he was talking to AJ Brown for a long time
Yeah. Yeah. I
after the
saw
game,
that.
a
Yeah.
long time. That video I didn't post it like showing up, but they were talking a long time. And I wonder. I think maybe they're talking about some of that frustration that was happening there and some other things as well too. So they took it. The Bears took it a little bit extra. Kevin Byard earlier in the week, and he reiterated after the week. He did say you get, and that's what made me think that Ben Johnson took that decision to not defer the ball and receive. Byard did say if you get up on this team early, the fans will start booing if they're not as effective. And look, lo and behold,
Yes, they
look
will.
what
And
happened.
they
So he
did
knew.
start booing early.
Oh, they
Yeah.
booed immediately, didn't they? They
Yeah.
booed, I think, after
Yeah.
the first.
Yeah.
That one too. You got the lady yelling, kill somebody, and all that stuff on the
Yeah.
other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an interesting experience. But the
Sometimes
Bears,
it's not a home field advantage when they're not playing well.
I agree with
I
that.
hate to break it to people.
I agree with that. Chris, I got to ask you, what do you make of the latest reports from Jimmy Kempski, Jeff McClain? We've talked about it here, but Jalen Hurts doesn't want to run the ball much anymore. Doesn't want a lot of designed runs in the plan. At least that's how it was reported. What do you think of that, and how much do you think it impacts the Eagles' offensive game plans?
sounds a lot like Donovan McNabb. That whole thing with saying I want to be a passer,
Yeah.
and that's why I wonder, like, because if it's almost thing like you want to try to change the narrative sometimes. He's trying to stay healthy for another season because the things has been he's not available. He's always getting hit, and then the main thing the one thing I see all the time on thing he's a running back playing quarterback, what have you. Well, one thing try the narrative is you try, all right, I want to get these out the game plan. I want to try it in the pocket, and it's affecting this run game a lot because you don't have the edge rusher really respecting as much of the threat he's running. Now, looking at where they are right now, that mentality's got to go out the window. It really does because you want to get things back on track, especially that run game. You want to get to rectify this offense. You need to have him starting to run the run more zone reads. I would be smart. Now, when you see the things about talking, when Nick's talking about making some changes or whatever, do you revert? I think we'll be surprised if we revert back to the RPRs, the run pass runs, because he saw it so effective. You can't make that the staple of your offense all the time. But I think you throw a little bit more in and just start getting those defensive coordinators' minds of, hey, he might be running it. He doesn't have to do it 10, 15 times a game. Just do it two or three times, maybe even four. And not just to draw up the middle on 3rd and 15 where everybody's going like, where you split everybody out. It's like, okay, it's either going to be short passes or he's going to run. No, I mean, like, really, truly get back to the truth, because you can utilize AJ on those slants, and I dare a defensive. There's not that many defensive backs that can stop him on a dig or a slant right. So they're going to be hauling ass to go ahead and stop him in the middle of the field. Run him around and if you run on the outside, the space is there. Do it on a first down. They like to run on the ball so much on first down. Do that. Have a run. Threat. It'll follow a tendency that's on tape already that they like to run. So you have that threat of, okay, Saquon's getting the ball. Oh, wait, he's pulling the ball. And next thing you know, you got so much space on the outside now because everybody's surprised. And now things start to change, that the shape of the defense in the back changes. And then you may be able to have more success down the field than you had before previously.
Is it that big of a deal? Because I hear, and I'm glad you brought in the context of having an impact on defenders, because I think that's a bigger part of it. But I think the number last year was 3.6 or 3.7 design runs per game. They're down to 1.6, 1.7. So they're down 2 design runs per game, which is significant. But is 3.6 significant? Is the starting point significant? Like, was it that big of a deal that we're blowing it up to be what it is? Because I think and really, some of those design runs are ineffective. The good ones are the quarterback draws, and I think they're still effective. And they ran one last week, which was effective. Is it that big of a deal? Is that going to fix this offense?
Yeah, I really do think it is, because when you look at everything, like when you look at the setup and how they've run in the past, if you're going to run that much shotgun, you might as well have that threat there. I personally, I don't know if you've heard me from in the box, I'm like, why are they running more pistol? Why are they running more under center? If you really want Barkley going that way too, if you're going to run more shotgun like you're running right now, at least throw that in more, because just sitting back on the left or right side, you're pretty much having a tail thing. Well, unless it's rare to do that pitch on the outside on the same side with Barkley's on the left, it's rare to do the pitch where he runs out with short side. You pretty much know he's going right in the middle on the right. So you're limiting the guesses that the defense has to make. So when you at least have that zone read or the RPO, you at least making them think a little bit more. And maybe that gets away with you not running as much motion as you had before as well too. But you're still stagnant and it still doesn't help as much. But at least if you're doing that, you can at least you give them more to think about. And it just seems like, and as we heard last week with the Bears defenders, as we heard previously with some other defenses previously, it has become predictable, because you can sort of see what's coming down that way. And if you're going to make it this predictable, why even have this much money invested to the offense that you have, because you're not getting
that part of it's going to change, because it has to change. I mean, you have to start paying some of the defensive players. And Howie's explained that before. That's more circumstance. The demonstrated proven players, which are already becoming the demonstrated descending players, are getting paid the most money because they're on their second and sometimes third contracts, sometimes fifth if you're Lane, however how many Lane has had. But it's interesting you brought that up, and I'll end it there. At C Franklin News, make sure you follow Chris on the X platform. We constantly say, because of what they get paid, how talented the Eagles offense is. What's more talented right now, today, December 2nd? I got to look at the calendar. December 2nd, 2025. Who's more talented, the Eagles offense or the Eagles defense?
I still say it's the offense is being heavily underutilized. I still look at the guys that you have on there. If you play someone any other team right now, you place them on the Rams, I still see them being effective. I just don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I still think if you put Quinyon Mitchell on any side or any other team, that team is all considered better. Put Cooper Jalen considered better. But I look at these guys, and I think the way this has been so ineffective in how they've been utilized this year. And I still think some of the guys on the line are still banged up. I think Landon just needs. It's one of the things where you have to keep him playing, but he could benefit from 3 or 4 weeks being shut down because I think there's still stuff still nagging, and then you see what happens. Lane Johnson. But when these guys are healthy and you put in the control thing, and even right now, I still think there's more talent on there as well too. Maybe the cornerback 2 spot is influencing me right now. Looking on that side, it's kind of close, but I still think there's more talent on that offense. It just needs to be utilized a lot better than what it is right now. But I still think this team should be averaging 26, 27 points a game. I just think there's that much talent on it. It's not.
I'm with you. Chris, final question for me, man. A lot of fans going down the 2023 route. Are you getting any of those feelings from this football team? Obviously, a different look in that it's not the defense this time around. Do you feel like 2023 collapse is being relived here in 2025?
I think it has the looks of it, but I think even with that schedule, you could say, I think even with the schedule, it'll prevent that from happening. But because I know we thought beforehand the Arizona Cardinals weren't going to come in here and beat them.
Yeah, right.
I know that too. And they still won the division with Henry said it.
Giants too. Didn't we lose to the Giants in that freaking collapse?
Yeah, that was didn't they stop? AJ got hurt like in the first series, and that wasn't that the game where they had the scoreboard watch and Dallas was.
Yep. And they pulled
Dallas
everybody
put
at
the
the half.
game away. Yeah, and they pulled that was kind of a wonky game, but
MetLife, I hate that.
yeah, MetLife.
But
and AJ hurt in that short time he played. He hurt his knee, and he wasn't able to go in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was just a bag from the jump. It was like one of those things. Like, well, we see how this is going, and it was one of those things. I think there's elements there, but I think it's better. Yeah, I think it better. I do now. The only part I see is, are they one and done? The matchups they have right now, if it's the Packers, I still think the Eagles win that game, only because the Packers in big situations in that spot in the playoffs. Jordan Love has not proven to me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thing.
Jordan Love is an X factor, and it could go negative. That's just as much as it could go positive. But Micah Parsons, I'm fearful of Micah Parsons. I need a dog when it comes to Micah Parsons because I'm fearful.
All right, Chris, make sure everybody goes and follows Chris at C Franklin News. Chris, it's always great getting you on the show, man. No egg in Patullo's house. All right, Chris, I know you don't.
I am totally again. I was not there. I will, even if I'm indicted and saying that Patullo, I have proof and evidence.
Chris is cleared. I've cleared Chris from any wrongdoing. His
my arm is left in it. It's cracking and everything else. I can't even throw it as far as anymore. So yeah, I got nothing.
His barbs are virtual. 60%.
Shaggy wasn't me. No, wasn't me.
All right, Chris. What's up, man? We'll talk to you soon. All right, brother.
All right,
thanks,
see you guys.
buddy.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.